be broken up into 2 parts also. But yeah, I feel like stuff from the artist alley sometimes graduates to these smaller booths in the back area of New York Comic Con. But some really cool stuff here. This is also the area we get a lot more congestion. They started putting food booths back here, so that was causing some of it. But some of it is just, this is where a lot of the smaller avant-garde or quirky pieces are. So after this booth, that was the end of Friday, and you'll see me kind of cut away, and I think I pick up here on Saturday. But yeah, I like these steins. They're pretty cool. I should actually replace a lot of my glasses. I have like a lot of ridiculous small glasses. I tend to just like large steins and large glasses. But yeah, I think I'll walk up here to the Marvel booth and then it'll fade away, and then I'll start back up on Saturday on the next part right by those steins. Yeah. Man, it gets tiring walking. I'm getting PTSD, vicarious PTSD, remembering how much I walked. I gotta get back into better shape. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Next day. I think this is the next day, if I'm not mistaken. This might be Saturday. About halfway through. I think there is... well, the video is not halfway through. We're on the halfway part of the rows. I think there's like 4,200 or 4,300 rows, or 43 rows. Each one is suffixed by a 00. So this is close to the halfway point, but this is more like 1/3 of the video. The first 1/3. I think the total time for the complete walkthrough is 7 hours 42 minutes. And so I broke the videos down into 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, and then a last one is like 2 hours 42 minutes or something like that. But yeah, the Artist Alley goes by a lot quicker. Yeah, some of this stuff I didn't really explore as much as I could, like that Marvel Star Labs and like this Bandai store. Just some stuff, the lines were just too long while I was doing the walkthrough, and I wasn't super into it. So I just wanted to give people a sense of the walkthrough. I think it's just enjoyable to go back and watch, like to see like the people and just some of the costumes, and just capture like the ambiance and essence of it. But yeah, I just wanted to capture that. I'm not trying to get every single item on camera. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm retreading ground that I've already been on. Apologize for that, but I think the next day I was just trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything on my walkthrough. So I was just going back over this entire area. So just bear with me. If you want, you can just forward past this part. But just wanted to make sure I just couldn't remember memory-wise if I had covered this row. It's funny, when you go to Gen Con, you see tons and tons and tons of those neoprene mats for card playing and mouse for desktops and stuff like that. There's IDW. They make really cool, publish really cool comics. There's more of the Whatnot booth. They had it set up so you kind of drew like these coins from like this sort of soda vending machine. You didn't get sodas, but when you opened up those containers, you got different kinds of coins that you could use to play different types of UFO catcher machines and win different prizes and stuff like that. So yeah, you could see those little vending soda cans containing the coins that people needed. Good old Squishmallows. Looking forward to seeing modern day rendition of there's that famous picture of that divorced couple dividing up their Beanie Babies on the floor of court after their divorce, because that's like the bulk of their assets. I'm looking forward to seeing the Squishmallow version of that in the future. Alright, so this is RubyArt again. I think the company is Conpak Studios, but it primarily features Ruby's artwork. But you can get a sense of some of her stuff. Even Not on Metal, I really like her art prints. They're really cool. They're simple, but really well done. I kind of rushed by here a bit, but I like her blue and white series. With like koi fish and stuff like that. I haven't talked a lot about comics. I have a lot of CGC rated comics. There's some that I wanted, some that I was just interested in. I've decided not to collect any more of those. I got certain ones that I wanted. There's some I'll never get because they're too expensive. I'll never get a first run TMNT one at a 9.8 or anything like that. It's just too cost prohibitive. And there's some artists like Freddie W who does really cool art with Ghostbusters crossover with TMNT or but at this point, I got those comics just to have them. I have one Batman Dark Knight that's a 9.9. I'm really happy that I got it and at the price that I got it at. At some point when I move into a bigger home, I'll display those comics in their CGC slabs properly, maybe next to some statues. I envision maybe getting some metal plaques printed out that will say something about artists or sculptures or art prints or comics to put next to stuff that I have mounted on the wall, kind of like the way a museum does, if I have the space for it. That's my ideal. But I kind of disheartened over the way CGC and CBCS are behaving, just in terms of the preferential treatment they give to social media influencers and stuff. It's not a jealousy thing. I just don't like that kind of cliquey, favoritism being shown that screws over the consumer. Also, there doesn't seem to be a consistency. And I think just like the way the ownership with some of these companies, I do worry about like their longevity. But anyway, to me, I'm a fan of the artist first. I'm not really into a lot of this stuff for the investment purposes. If I get something, I love it. I get it because I love it. If I had a choice between getting a virgin cover of some comic book slabbed in, and graded versus getting a beautiful print of it that's larger with more detail, visible because of its size and the fidelity of the medium that it's on, the paper it's on, I'll go for the print every single time. There's a artist down in Artist Alley. His name is John Jiang. I love his art prints, and I would get any day of the week, I'll take his art prints with his remarks over a comic cover of his. So yeah, I mean, I've decided not to do that anymore. I mean, this is Comic-Con, right? People are here driven by the comics drive a lot of the stuff. The actual manga or the comic is the driving force between like the majority of these IPs. So there are a lot of purists and traditionalists buying art pages, original drawings, original sketches, limited edition, virgin variants, all that stuff. That's great. All the more power to them. They're like maybe they're more, purists than me. I appreciate them and I admire them, and I think maybe they're, maybe that'll be me at some point. But for me right now, I'm just not caught up in that investment game. I'm not into that that sort of thing. I go with whatever fad or trend that I'm into, and for me right now, it's just art that I can appreciate on the walls or sculptures that I can display. That's my primary thing, and also designer toys. I love designer toys, but maybe my tastes or what I collect or what I'm into will change. But yeah, that's one reason maybe that I didn't linger or focus on comic books that much. I read comics for sure. I get them through Comixology or whatever. apps, and I read them primarily on my tablet. I know maybe that might be hearsay to some people, but recently I finished Saga, I finished Invincible. I thought they were like amazing comics with really cool themes about family and fatherhood and parenthood and what it means to be a child, and just dealing with like legacy and I love comics. Believe me, I love comics, and I love adaptations when they do comics justice. But I think during the Comic-Con, I'm not going to hyper focus on that stuff anymore. Unless it's like an iconic event, Something is Killing the Children, I thought was an iconic event. If I did a commentary last year, I would have talked more about that comic and what it means, or even like Batman Damned, I would have talked about how important. But there's tons of videos out there that are way more knowledgeable than me about that are going to talk about those comics and what they mean and to the industry and all that stuff. But I'm here focusing on plastic, on resin and plastic and figures and sculptures and art and stuff like that. So I mean, I guess that's a good thing about Comic-Con, It's like there's something for a lot of people. If you're a parent, there's so many booths dedicated towards, teaching kids about science and, STEM and all that stuff. So, there's like panels dedicated for cosplay. There's panels dedicated for if you wanted to learn about making film, making media. There's panels dedicated to the history of manga. There's panels dedicated to, the ridiculousness of Japanese shows or risque, erotic, not safe for work, comedy skits. There's like something really for everybody at Comic-Con. If you have anything that you are geeky about or interested in, this is a wonderful convention to come to. You can cater whatever you're looking for. You can cater your schedule to whatever interests you have, and I'm sure there's many different angles and venues for whatever you're into. One thing I didn't do this year, maybe I'll do it next time, is explore some of like the off-network, the off-site, off-site, I guess, halls or events or, I can't think of the word, but they set up like little booths outside where they're promoting or showing off really cool things. They would have like one of the pop-ups that I wanted to go to was for the audible version of Sandman's Act 3. I really enjoyed the audio book version of Sandman on Audible, and they had like a cool pop-up where they had like a whole hall that simulated different environments and different rooms in that area, and then I guess they had like snippets and stuff. But I was waiting in line for it, but I just needed to go eat. I couldn't wait, so I went off and went to get some pizza. But next year definitely I'm gonna try to explore some more of the off-site stuff. These Demon Slayer figures are really awesome. This is not the first time I've seen this display setup. I felt like I've saw this display setup before. And I love these swords too. But I swear I've seen these. I saw these even last year at New York Comic Con. But the detail and the sculpt engineering and just like the level of quality on these figures seems to be getting better all the time. Those swords are cool. I have a few swords also. I'm like one of those cliches, walking cliches. I was really into Highlander back in the day. I remember watching that movie as a kid. I was maybe like 10 years old when I saw that movie in theaters. It blew my mind. But I was a big Highlander fan for the longest time. I didn't really watch. I watched the other movies, but I just blocked them out of my mind. All except for the first one are horrendous. I was looking forward to the reboot, but I think it's being written by somebody horrible, so I don't have a lot of hope for it. At one point, I heard a rumor that the guy who directed John Wick was directing it, but I don't know if that's true. I heard Henry Cavill may have been attached at one point, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for any Highlander reboot. The only thing I liked besides the first movie and the deleted scenes or the uncut version of the first movie, there was a anime called Highlander Vengeance. That was pretty awesome, man. Check that out if you haven't seen it. That one was really, really cool. It was a totally different take on it, a futuristic cyberpunk, different version of McLeod, but I really enjoyed that a lot. But anyway, so even like the show, it was okay. I remember when the show started, I was all into it, but I don't know, that guy, I don't know, it didn't really capture my spirit. That show I stopped watching after a couple seasons. It just got too ridiculous. But I remember I did get the Highlander swords, the red sword and the black sword, from the official Highlander store. I still have those. They're like made in Spain, and they were expensive. And in addition to the two katanas that have like the replica hilts from the movie, I guess one was maybe Duncan's sword and one was Connor's sword. In addition to those two, I got the Connor broadsword, the claymore, I should say, from the Scottish Highlands, the sword that he used before he got the katana when he was on the battlefield. But yeah, I still have those in great quality. So, but yeah, like just looking at these swords from Demon Slayer, at times, the only time I was ever tempted to like get weapons again for anything was there was this company called Triforce. They went bankrupt, and I know they screwed over some people, but they used to always have like really cool displays at conventions while they were alive, and their booths were really fun, and they would give you really good deals. If they had stuff in stock, you could walk away with some amazing stuff. I have like their Batman gauntlet surrounded by spotlights holding a batarang. I have a bust of Black Mask. The best things I got from them were there was a game called Darksiders. Well, it's still around, but I have the Death and Dust statue that lights up the EX version. And for a while they were making these really cool replicas of Halo and Gears of War weapons and weapons from Mass Effect, and the quality and the details on them was insanely good. It was really, 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 really well done. They made a torque bow. Man, I wish I could have got that. But they also had like a lancer. I have a picture of me somewhere with holding their chainsaw gun from Gears of War. But the lancer and the torque bow from Gears of War, it was so good. Occasionally you'll see them on eBay for like insane amounts of money, some liquidator trying to milk the last vestiges of that. But that was the only time I ever thought, you know what, it would be kind of cool to get like these sort of prop weapons and hang them up in a room or something like that. But I never did. And I guess when I went to Disneyland, or was it Disney World or Disney, whichever one's the one in California, I was tempted to like buy like one of those stupid lightsabers and do the whole crystal buying thing and the blind box to hope that I could get the black kyber crystal, but I came to my senses. But some of the prop weapons that people make are really, really cool. Some of them are really, really well done. But those swords for Demon Slayer that were there earlier, you could tell they put a lot of quality and effort. I don't know if those are for sale or they will be for sale or they're prototypes, but I feel like I saw them last year too. Last year at Comic-Con, there was one guy and he was selling cool replicas of like Thor's hammer, Thor's axe, and the Thundercat sword. God, I forgot that guy's name, but he was taking pre-orders, but his stuff was really, really cool. Here's stuff from Power Rangers, I guess, or I don't know if it's Voltron or Power Rangers. Probably Power Rangers. Probably Power Rangers. That's pretty cool. Nano block is very neat too. Just micro Legos. A friend of mine went to Japan and brought me back a micro block of Guile from Street Fighter. Yeah, that was really cool. These are pretty neat. All right, so it's been a few days since I recorded part 1. Let me just pick up where I left off. And Bandai went all out with their displays. One Piece stuff was really nice. I mean, they did a really good job with One Piece and Naruto and Dragon Ball Z even, I think, last year. But this year they did ramp up the displays a bit. Yeah, it's not bad. Saw a lot more like cool jackets and stuff this time around. I did finish catching up with Chainsaw Man on Hulu. It was pretty funny. It's a pretty charming show, but it's like Japan just doesn't get the memo when it comes to, catering or maturing or evolving any form of political correctness. Or a lot of anime is just catered towards teenage boys, and there's a whole bunch of fan service, and I guess it sort of lives in its own bubble. Yeah, I mean, it approaches over sexualizing things in a comedic way, and it's immature, and it just sort of revels in it, So you have to kind of just go with it. It's so funny how like anime is so popular here, and you have like that on one side, and yet when it comes to live action, there's like different expectations for messaging and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see if animation that's coming out of other countries starting to get pretty advanced and catching on with popularity in China and India, and maybe even like the Middle East. But it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what sort of themes and what parts of the culture it'll reflect around the world, if it starts to gain some traction outside of Japan and Korea. So yeah. Yeah, so okay, where are we at? Row 2500, 2600. Yeah, starting to get a little crowded here. Right when we get, I think, right around 4100 or 4200, that's when you're going to notice it gets pretty insane. There was one aisle where I was just sort of moved along like a mosh pit. I had no control. Some celebrities doing signings back here. I think I met what's his name, Mick Foley, at a previous Comic-Con in one of these back rows of the main exhibit hall. His hand was like so fucking huge, it just swallowed up my hand. But yeah, really super gentle guy. A lot of the wrestlers seem to be really, really good with their fans. When I went to Japan, it was really awesome just sort of walking around Akihabara and walking up all the different floors of the different shopping centers and just seeing rows and rows and rows of anime figures. I didn't go to the Kotobukiya store. I heard it was a little overpriced, but it's not too far, I think, from the Super Potato store, the legendary Super Potato video game store. But I really love Kotobukiya figures, a lot of them. I like their Bishoju line. I know it's a little fan servicey, but I do like sort of the female takes on their horror line. Those are really cool. I kind of thought about maybe collecting those, or maybe getting just a few, like the Morrigan Darkstalkers one, and I think there's a Lilith one from Darkstalkers Capcom video game. But in the end, I decided not to collect. I just have, I don't know, I think with all the designer toys I have and statues I had, it just was another thing that I just didn't want to go down the road. Recently, Sideshow was having their Halloween Spooktacular event. I think it's still ongoing. It ends on Monday on the 31st. Right now, it's I think the 29th on Saturday when I'm recording this. But they had like a $20 off code that you could use for every item that you RSVP'd. So they had like maybe about 15 different statues or figurines or products that you could RSVP for, and you got a $20 code off you could use with no minimums. So, you know, if you had found a bunch of pins and small books or something, as long as it totaled up less than $20, you got it for free. And a lot of these items were free shipping, so you didn't have to spend anything. But Iron Studios has like these Minico figures. They're kind of close to like Nendroids. Just think of them as super detailed Funko Pops in awesome little poses. So I went ahead and got like 4 or 5 of the X-Men ones. I thought they were pretty cool. But some of the details on those figures is really, really cool. Of course, I think Hot Toys, you know, obviously they're at the top of that stuff when it comes to photorealistic representations. But, you know, the prices on Hot Toys has like gone up insanely to an insane level lately. And I think people are upset with, you know, Hot Toys, certain popular lines getting re-releases when people hoped that they were limited edition. But I've never ended up getting any Hot Toys. I'm not really into collecting figures or statues that are photorealistic or movie realistic. I think the only exception that I ever made was there was this movie Legend with Tom Cruise back in the day, directed by Ridley Scott, and Tim Curry played like this character called Darkness, which is basically like the devil, and Mia Sara played the protagonist. I had like such a huge, I mean, anyone who watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off had a huge crush on Mia Sara. But regardless of what what your gender or sexual orientation, sorry, you had a crush on Mia Sara when you saw her. But yeah, I thought, you know, I just remember that movie being so cool and just so interesting. It's, if you look at Legend, really in a way it's a retelling of the Adam and Eve story, but just told with fantasy tropes. But God, I love the practical effects. But Tim Curry, man, he went through an amazing transformation. The people who did the special effects, they should be like, they should have memorials built to them, the practical effects. But I have a statue of Tim Curry as Darkness, as the devil. I think that's the only movie statue that I own in my collection. I just had to make an exception for that. It's just so impressive. And it's by, I got the one done by Pop Culture Shock, or I guess they're called PCS. I think they changed their name to Premium Collectible something. But yeah, that's a really good company. But yeah, they knocked that one out of the park for sure. They're pretty adorable. That 4th season of Stranger Things, that was the first time I think I enjoyed that show as much as the first season. I think that's a lot of people's thinking. I just felt like they were spinning their gears, just world building constantly and not going anywhere, and sort of not really tying it down. And their stupid attempt to do that spin-off episode with the emo kids from the other city that they just forgot about. Yeah, I was just starting to lose faith in that show, but this 4th season really knocked it out of the park. It started to finally tie things together, put like a arc to the world, and fleshed out the origin stories really well. The acting was great. It was campy but fun. Everyone, Paul Reiser, what's that guy? Not Judge Reinhold. What's that guy's name? The person who played her caretaker. Daddy. What the heck was his name? Let me think. May have to look this up. I just remember him from that movie Vision Quest back in the day with Daphne Zuniga. Zuniga? Can't remember. The heck was it? That Grinch was cool, by the way. He was really in character. Kids were just fascinated, but horrified, but entranced at the same time. Matthew Modine. That's who I'm thinking of. Matthew Modine. Yeah, he really did a wonderful job. And the kid, Eddie Van Halen, yeah, I forget his, I think his name was his name, Eddie? But, Eddie Munson, yeah. That guy did a really good job too. Mostly I was just happy they scaled back how annoying some characters were getting, like one of the kids' little sister. Erica. Yeah, I don't know. I was ready to throw in the towel. I don't like it when shows write like kids like little miniature adults as if they're jaded and divorced, and I don't know. It just doesn't ring true. I know kids can be precocious and kids can sound adult-like at times, but there's a way to do it with authenticity, and it just, I don't know. It just it didn't ring true. It just felt like that character was just inserted to sort of, I don't know, add some artificial sass. It didn't really feel nice in the mix. But I'm glad they toned down that aspect of that show a lot. When that fourth season started, that first episode, you know, I was just seeing Seven just running through the halls constantly, over and over. All these montages of her running barefoot in the halls of that underground facility. I was just like, I don't know if they're just drawing this out. They don't really have anything. They're like filling time while important other events are happening, and they don't have anything that they can do with this character. None of these scenes are actually contributing to anything meaningful. They're just redundant and repetitive, but I'm glad I just barreled through that first episode and just really started to enjoy the pacing of that show after that. I didn't stop at the Studio Ghibli booth this time. I felt like I covered it properly at San Diego Comic-Con. So I'll upload the San Diego Comic-Con video if you want to take a look at the items. But I feel like you could throw a rock in Japan and find much better Studio Ghibli items over there. I did pre-order a couple Studio Ghibli statues. This one for Laputa, and a couple from Princess Mononoke, and a couple from Spirited Away. Some of them have come in. I'll try to do videos of those. I was really happy how some of them came out. Some are still on their way to getting delivered. But I wanted to sort of make a whole Studio Ghibli section for my display area. I really like the Laputa piece I got because instead of being a normal statue, it's almost like a picture frame that you can hang, and it's like an overhead view of a river and characters floating down it. These are pretty cool. I like these sort of candles. I like the Danny Trio one. That's pretty good. And our flag means death up in the corner. Of course, Nick Cage. I thought about maybe picking up a couple of those as a gift for some friends. A lot of cool gaming stuff, a lot of cool just fantasy stuff there. You always end up seeing cool stuff like that at Gen Con. I skipped Gen Con this year. I don't know. I'm just haven't been into board games as much with less social contact. I could be playing some card games and board games solo, but it's just not the same. So, of course, if I went to Gen Con, I would have played board games with other people, but I think just not playing them generally lately with my friends throughout the year sort of made me lose a little interest in board games in general. I'll probably get back on it at some point, but I just haven't been as motivated in that regard. I have like some board games from some Kickstarters that I just haven't even opened. I think I'm just going to end up putting them up on eBay or selling them or something. I think there was some really cool one-piece card games going on over here. I might, if they are solo games, I might check them out later. There were some cool figures in some of these display cases. I think a lot of them were there last year too, but there might have been a few new ones here, so I do focus on them at some point. Yeah, some really, really cool ones. I mean, they did a really good job with the materials and the lighting on these. But yeah, they did a really, really good job on these. I like the display with all the gold coins. That's a really nice touch. That's one thing I need to work on too with my displays. I had the idea for a lot of my designer toys to get, like when people do those dioramas for railroad model trains and stuff like that, they get sometimes cut grass or cut fields to lay down as terrain. I thought about getting some of those sort of pre-made terrains and having them cut for my display cases, so that when I lay down certain figures or toys that are based on like animals or anamorphic animal type things, that'd be kind of a nice thing to put them down on. But yeah, I think like catering your displays with, accessories, as long as it doesn't overpower what you're trying to display in the first place. You don't want to make it too busy. But yeah, I mean, putting certain art prints around or certain accessories, or maybe even like a chibi version of the figure down below, that would be pretty cool. For some of my Street Fighter statues, I have like the chibi cryptozoic versions of those figures down below. And then there's this sculptor Ryan Sabato and Darkseed. That's their aliases, but they made a really cool Zangief figure, and I'm hoping that they make a couple more, but those are really, really well done. But I like having like little chibi or cute versions of the character down next to like a hyper realistic or hyper stylized statue of the same figure. But yeah, if I could accessorize or customize a display around a lot of my pieces, that would be really cool. I see some people in Thailand and Singapore and Malaysia and Japan and China have acrylic cases that go over and protect your figures, of course, like to keep dust out. I mean, we have those here too, but one trend that I've seen coming up is where they laser cut an emblem or a logo on the acrylic, sort of enclosing the figure. Gives it a nice little touch. Like, just try to picture like a one-piece logo laser etched onto the acrylic or glass on the front here. Of course, once you do that, you're pretty much catering that display for whatever is inside it's not really sellable or transferable at that point. But if you love something and you think you're going to keep it, might as well, go all out. I have come to a point where I've been thinking about recycling some of my collection. There's just some stuff that just doesn't fit, my tastes or style. I think I'm going to put a disclaimer in here too at the beginning of this video, or maybe just in the description, saying that, whatever my thoughts are, that's what they are today. Whatever my opinions are, that's what they are today. I may evolve or change tomorrow. What I believe in today may not be the same as the future. It's just me capturing my thoughts at this moment in time. So, the day we stop changing is the day we die, right? That's a quote. So I just find like my interests always just evolving and changing the more I just expose myself to different kinds of pop culture, different kinds of art, different kinds of cool stuff, Kid Robot, yeah, definitely one of the main titans of designer toys. I think I was talking to somebody here, and my camera was starting to overheat, and I was trying to just sort of figure things out a bit. And the guy was asking me a little bit about my phone. We were talking about the Galaxy Fold, and we're just generally talking about how to get a good deal on the phone. I think I got my phone and the Galaxy Fold 4 and the new watch combined total for $750, and it's like the 512 gigabyte version. Basically, if you sort of just RSVP or sign up for the interest list for the phone before it comes out, you get like tons and tons of really great discounts. So now if you're loyal to a company like Samsung, they reward you. Gone are the days where companies would beg to try to get you to sign up with them and subsidize phones for free. But now, if you just show brand loyalty, you just get really, really great deals if you order a phone before or right when it comes out, because they know you're going to go out there and start singing its praises like a sycophant. So it's pretty much like free advertising. I do end up talking to a lot of people about my phone, and having moved to the Galaxy Fold 4, okay, now I'm doing it again. I just can't go back. It's the huge real estate on the screen just makes multitasking so much better, and it's so much easier to show stuff. It's so much nicer just to consume media on. The only thing I wish that it did was I wish I could take the S Pen and put it inside the phone like I could with my previous Note phones, like the Note 20 Ultra and the Note 10 Plus and the Note 3. That's the only thing I miss about it. But the way the new Fold 4 does multitasking, that's how touchscreen operating should be. But yeah, it's the camera on it's pretty decent too. So, but I just can't go backwards after that. I'm excited to see where they go next with it. But yeah. But yeah, Kid Robot, yep, the originators of the Dunny, they've done a lot of cool shit. I do have quite a lot of Dunnies and Monies in my collection, mostly custom. But I remember when I went to New York Comic Con way back in 2016 or 2017, there was a mob of people around the Kid Robot booth. And I didn't understand why these pieces were why people were so rabid about them, and why some of them were so expensive, and why some of these blind boxes were just so coveted. But then when I started looking at them, I found that they had some really cool themes to them. I have a couple blind box series for Dunnies. Especially one of my favorites that I have is ones based on different folklore gods. They do a really good job with a lot of these lines. The detail on the vinyls is good. Don't go buy these plushies, but just go check out Kid Robot's Dunnies, and go check out some of the custom ones that Sket One or Hukji have done. Some of the ones that are double casted or triple casted. They have transparencies. They have like dissected skeletons inside them. Some of them are glow in the dark. I have like a series of a few that look like octopuses or mollusks that are inside transparent resin Dunnies. I have some that have like with Sket One that have food items kind of like Nutella or honey inside. They're just really well done. At some point I'll do a review of those, and maybe do a little quick little video on some of my Dunny collections. But yeah, that the one guy that I really like, I think his name is American Gross, and for a while he went by the alias Death Klops. But some of his sort of double casted Dunnies, transparent ones, are really cool. I was lucky enough to get about 5 or 6 of those on the aftermarket. I really love those, and some of them are the glow in the dark on them is really cool. Really like these TMNT figures. They're really well done. There's a nice sort of in-between hybrid style between the hardcore comics and the 90s cartoon. Some cool horror stuff. Love that classic Castlevania. Frankenstein and Wolfman up there at the top. Good old Garbage Pail Kids. I remember my cousin used to collect them back in the day. He had a giant binder full of all of them. I think he had like the first run. He had almost, I don't know if he had a couple hundred, but I was talking to him last year and he was saying that somewhere in his basement, that binder with all those cards was still in there. Probably worth a lot of money. Yeah, they had like a nice little trading board here. Leave a card, take a card. I thought that was kind of cool. Some really fun cards here. Nice trip down memory lane. I think I come back around and take a closer look at some of these cards for you guys when I walk around a little bit later, a few minutes down the road. Oh yeah, they had like sort of a fortune teller machine here where it sort of talked and said something to you, and the atom bomb pushed a button after you spent some sort of promotional coin to put in there to make it go. But yeah, it was like the genie and or those Zoltar type fortune machines. But I think it like gave out like a prize or some cards down at the bottom at the end. That thing was awesome. I wouldn't mind having one of those in my basement. I don't know. Sometimes I think like a lot of my sensibility for decor came from just watching shows like Silver Spoons when I was a kid. Just like, or maybe even like the movie Big. Just never growing up. Just sort of having this sort of Peter Pan like stasis to my life. Yeah, I joke that sometimes my house is just like a temple of kryptonite to women. I don't know. I have had some, I should say, there have been a couple girls that have come over and have been like, wow, this is so fucking cool. Like, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? This is amazing. It's like being in like a really chill, cool museum in here, in some of my rooms. So, yeah, I shouldn't say that. I did date this one lawyer, and I remember like I was showing her stuff around my house, and after everything, whether it was an art print or like a sculpture or, you know, like a statue or whatever, she would just say, "That's interesting. That's interesting." And at some point, I think in my head, I started thinking that must be code for, you know, SOS or how do I get out of here? But no, I think she was actually she thought it was kind of interesting, genuinely. Man, I just breezed by this booth. There's some cool manga here. I didn't notice. I'm actually kind of looking forward to conventions again now. After Designer Con, I'm looking forward to going to them again without having the pressure to videotape them. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm more looking just to sort of just enjoy stuff in the moment. Alex Ross always has like a really good gallery display of all of his stuff. The only time I've ever been tempted to buy his stuff is a couple years ago. He did canvases, limited edition canvases of the original classic Universal monsters, like Dracula, the Mummy, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein. And I think I could have got like all 7 of them for like maybe $2,800, and they skyrocketed in price since then. But I was tempted, definitely, to get those. Yeah, but I just didn't pull the trigger on those. But I do admire his style. There are other comic artists that I like a little more, but yeah, his depiction of sort of the old guard of the Justice League is always pretty iconic, pretty cool. If you ever seen a picture of him, I think he just modeled a lot of his heroes based on his jawline. But yeah, his stuff is definitely very, very cool. It's just a little too pricey for me now to ever get into collecting his stuff, but I definitely admire his art style. That guy had some cool pins in his backpack. Right here is where I kind of came back around to take a look at some of these garbage pail kids. Give you a closer look at to see some of the ones that people were leaving and trading. I love these. I would love to just get like magnets of these and put them all over my fridge. There's another artist, I think his name is Marking Boy Artist on Instagram, and he makes sort of cool alternative versions of Garbage Pail Kids. I like his work too. That's my camera bumping against some people. All these people here, I guess, were waiting for CGC submittals to get their comics graded, or to set up people, witnesses to come with them to go see an artist do a signing or do a remark. speaking of ratings, when it comes to, I was whining a little bit earlier. I don't know, just complaining about the way the industry is set up when it comes to certain aspects of it. Like, for example, like in the statue industry or the figurine industry, where you don't get honest reviews sometimes by the big named channels or Facebook groups that have a lot of followers, because there's sort of like this feedback loop of access or benefits given back to the people that are reviewing that stuff. Maybe if those parts of the industry could shift or move over to the way, something like how journalism used to be. You used to get accolades from your peers in journalism. You used to get, I guess, a lot of respect and certain doors opened, but how you got that respect was like winning a Pulitzer or winning some sort of award that was given by, well-respected oversight board. Not the way like, I don't know, the way awards are given, the way positive reviews are given. It's almost feels like a campaign, the way Oscars or Emmys are given. It's a happy coincidence when it lines up with an amazing artistic product, but a lot of stuff gets overlooked because, it doesn't want, I don't know, it just feels a little too commercial at times, the way reviews happen. But if maybe we could shift to sort of an independent, I don't know, like an independent way, maybe like a artist, like a artist group that could anonymously and independently vote on what's good, or just even like a critics board, but it has to be completely segregated away from the money, the power, the access, the perks. It's all small time stuff when it comes to statues, but maybe it's just in the process of evolving. Yeah. I really love Star Wars stuff. I don't really have a lot of Star Wars art or statue. Well, I have like Boba Fett statue from XM, and I have a few designer toys that cross over into Star Wars type material, but I've never really kind of found any great Star Wars statues. I think like the closest I ever came to getting some more Star Wars stuff, besides, a couple of those samurai figures, I have like that black Boba Fett Hasbro figure. That one I thought was kind of cool. But the closest I ever came, I think Sideshow has a really cool Asai Ventress and Asajj Ventress, sorry. And they have a really cool Darth Maul, and they have a mostly cool Palpatine. I just don't like the way his feet sort of stick out on the bottom. Looks a little goofy to me, but I guess that's in line with how hammy and that actor is, and how hammy that character can get at times. But I don't know, I just haven't found, like, maybe if I found like a really cool Dio. Oh, I did pre-order that one figure from Kotobukiya, I think it's Kotobukiya, of that Ronin from the duel from the very first episode of Star Wars Visions. That one, yeah, man, I hope they make more stuff in that line. I have a feeling it's going to be a one-off, but I really can't wait to get that one. That looks really, really awesome. I will say this, although I have a lot of love for the original trilogy, and I can understand people liking the other trilogies, whatever age group you grew up with, of course you're going to have a sentimental attachment to whatever it is you first saw when you were a kid. But I will say that there were moments in the other Star Wars films, design-wise or visually, there were some really interesting choices, and I thought, they could have gone a very cool route with some of those choices, but they could never sort of put it back together. I think Lucas is, I think, like I saw a YouTube video, or I read an article talking about how much of an positive influence his wife was during the first, during A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and how much like the director Kirshner was, and even just like some of the actors, like Harrison Ford, sort of just reining in some of the potentially bad decisions that could have been made with that series. All credit due definitely to Lucas's overarching vision, but when it came down to the details, it was like the perfect cocktail mix of the right editing, the right people, sort of coming together and just making something that wasn't too campy, too ridiculous. It was definitely a pulp soap opera, but all those little decisions and the way it was edited really, really made something magical. There's a great YouTube video called How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit. I definitely recommend watching that. It's a great sort of like little mini exploration into how well edited thematically and just even detail wise those films really, really benefited from that kind of editing. And I will say, watching the new trilogy or watching the prequel trilogy, there were moments that I felt that, this can be something really special, but it just came crashing down. I did download an anti-cheese edit of the prequel movies. I never got around to watching them. Maybe I'll give them a shot and see if it improves any. But I do like some of the memes and some of the ridiculous stuff that came out of it, like Jar Jar being a Sith Lord. And there was like this great Reddit post of someone sort of dissecting all the clues that were there that show why and how Jar Jar was actually a Sith like a pretty formidable opponent behind the scenes. And they broke down all these interesting scenes, but a lot of it was really, really bad editing in the prequels that make it seem like Jar Jar is actually a lot more devious and a lot more skilled than he is. It's just bad editing. But yeah. Fucking Jar Jar. That's an area where, you know, Lucas's wife's presence was sorely missed, I think. They could have averted a lot of heartache if she had been there. I think this is Right Stuff Anime. They've sort of rebranding their name as Purple Plum, or maybe it was always that. But they always have like a good collection of anime stuff. They have some really cool wall scrolls too. I remember when I was in my 20s, I used to go up to this import video game store called Starland up in Annandale, Virginia. And yeah, that's where like I picked up my Sega CD. I'm sorry, my Sega Saturn. And all these great games for it. And I think one of the first games I got for it was Guardian Heroes. But I would pick up wall scrolls from there too. I had all these really cool wall scrolls from fighting games like Samurai Showdown and King of Fighters and Real Bout Fatal Fury and some from Street Fighter and Darkstalkers and oh man, I had all these awesome wall scrolls. I would still have them too, but this person that I was roommates with, he wasn't around much, but a relative of his was there, and yeah, that didn't end well. And I think this relative of his ended up throwing away a lot of my wall scrolls when I was in the state of moving. I don't know if I should tell this story, but okay, I'll tell this story. So yeah, I remember it was winter time, and I got really sick, really badly got the flu, and I was staying home for a couple days trying to recover, and it snowed in one day. And this person that I was staying with, when I first moved in with him, he was in the process of getting a house built in another neighboring city. And he took me to that house that he was building and showed me sort of the top floor, which was like a sort of an attic and like a large bedroom type area. It was basically like the top floor where I could stay, and he sort of pitched it as, hey, you know, I'll only charge you like $450 a month. I think this was way back in 2005 or so, which was amazing rent. I mean, it's amazing rent for any time frame after 1980, but he said, yeah, $450 a month, and utilities included, I think. And as soon as this house is built, we can move in here. But in the meantime, you can stay in my current house that my mother lives in down in this other neighboring city. So yeah, I agreed to that. But I think like maybe 2 weeks after I started that, he met somebody. He fell in love. Literally, he was, yeah, so he was just gone all the time. I just never heard from him ever again. The only way I knew he existed was my rent check would disappear on the first Monday of every month, so I knew he was still alive. I think he did come home one time, and he was doing laundry, and we were both sort of sitting and watching football. We're watching like the Redskins, I guess they're the Washington Commanders now. We're watching football, and his mother came in and she started haranguing him, yelling at him to take out the trash, to do this, to do that. He needed to stop watching the football game, and she was having some people or some function, and he needed to, like, just cease his chill, and just and he wasn't like just relaxing. He was actually trying to be productive, do laundry, do all this stuff. But I remember in the middle of this dictator-like harangue, out of the side of his eye, he looked at me, looked at the TV, looked at the laundry, and then stopped and did all that was asked of him. And that was like the last I think I ever saw of him. I never saw him again. He had basically moved in very quickly with this girl that he had fallen in love with, and I think they got married. They have a couple kids. They're happy. Great, wonderful. But I don't think I ever saw him again. I used to play hockey with him too. But I guess I would see him occasionally, maybe at roller hockey or something. But so while I was living with his mother, we started getting into there was tension. Tension started growing between me and this stranger that I didn't know. And it would be like over the smallest things and over miscommunications. For example, he had told me that I could use some of the common areas and some of the common appliances. I could use the fridge. I could store what I wanted to in that fridge. So I started storing, like, sometimes food that I would get from my parents, or just leftovers from restaurants and stuff. At one point, my mom had cooked some special holiday food, and I had it in Tupperware. And I guess, like, his mother didn't get the memo that I was supposed to be able to use that fridge, and she got a little upset, I guess, because one time when I went to go put some leftovers in, I saw the entire fridge was taken, like one whole area where I would put my food was taken up by a giant, oversized Andre the Giant size bowl of walnuts. I don't know what, and they were like uncracked. I don't know why she wanted to put that in there, but I guess she figured if she occupied that space, I couldn't have that space. So little things like that started building up. For example, I had some hot chocolate that I got as part of a Christmas gift from somebody. It was from overseas. I can't remember if it was Swedish or what, but this hot chocolate, it was gourmet hot chocolate. I don't remember if it was Ghirardelli or what, but it was really nice. And I used to keep it up in the cabinet. And as the winter months were coming, I noticed all of a sudden that some of the hot chocolate packets were going missing. And I realized, since nobody else was in the house except for me and his mother, she was definitely drinking some of them. But I didn't mind sharing it with her, but I'm pretty sure she assumed those were her son's. Her son brought them, so why shouldn't she have some? But I remember it came down to the very last packet, and that last packet stayed there for about a month and a half. Neither one of us was drinking the last hot chocolate packet. I didn't want to do it because I think that I didn't want to get into an argument with her over it, to explain that they were mine in the first place. And I think she wasn't drinking it because she was trying to trap me into, or baiting me into catching me taking her food. But okay, so I digress. So anyway, on this one day when I was trying to recover from the flu, it snowed, and I had just I remember I was playing hockey on 4 different teams, so I was just exhausted. And then the flu hit me, and around 5:30 in the morning. Oh, and by the way, I was staying in the basement of this older house at the time. So There was no bathroom down there, so I was allowed to use the shower on the top floor, according to my friend. So, yeah, like when 5:30 rolled around on a Saturday morning, yeah, I don't know if it was a Saturday morning or a Monday morning, but when it rolled around, I remember she opened the basement door and started yelling at me, saying, "Hey, can you shovel the walkway outside of the townhouse? I need to shovel it." I was half awake and half sick, and I just was like, "What?" And then the door closed, and by the time I got upstairs and I went outside, there were some people from like the HOA already shoveling the snow. So I was like, okay, I guess. And she was already gone. So I don't know. It was just a very strange thing. So I didn't think anything of it. And I think I stayed home that day. And the only thing that made me feel good, that made me feel like I could breathe right, was taking a hot shower. So a little bit later in the afternoon, I started taking a shower. It was maybe, actually, I would say it was late afternoon, maybe around 4 o'clock or so. And while I was taking the hot shower, I kind of heard her come in. And, after a few moments, I heard her come upstairs, and she started banging on the bathroom door, saying, "Hey, you got to get out of there." And I had like soap in my eyes or shampoo in my eyes or something. And I was like, what? And she's like, "You're using too much hot water. You've got to get out." And I was like, okay, I'll be out in a minute. And so she went downstairs, and I don't think even 2 minutes passed, and I was just wrapping up, and I was about to close the water, and she came back up and started banging on the door like it was like the SWAT team, like she was performing a raid. And she started yelling again, saying, "You need to stop. You need to get out right now." And I don't know, I think it was a combination of the flu and exhaustion and everything. And I just said, "Hey, if you don't think my $450 a month covers, like the what little hot water I use, then I'll be happy to leave." And so she started jumping up and down outside the bathroom, saying, yes, I want you to leave right now. I want you out tonight. I want you gone. You gotta leave, but you gotta be out this evening. Or I don't know if she said this evening or tomorrow or something like that, but she gave me like no time. It was completely illegal. I don't know what was going on. So I was like, okay. So I closed everything up, and I went downstairs, and then I started just packing up all my shit. And I called a friend of mine to help me move, and it was sleeting really, really bad. So he helped me like grab a bunch of stuff, and I had nowhere to go. I ended up going back to my parents' house. I think I was 30 at the time, maybe 31 years old, and all of a sudden I'm living back with my parents. It was insane. I really had no choice. I guess I could have gone to a hotel, but I just needed a place to dump off all my stuff. But my parents just seemed like a logical place because I was just so madly sick. And, just moving all that stuff in the sleet and the rain. My friend came with a pickup truck. We did our best to try to keep the majority of my stuff dry. I decided to leave some of my things that would get damaged because of the rain, like my wall scrolls, for example. So I went home. I went to my parents. And, I think like I had a coffee table and some bedding and, a whole bunch of clothes and stuff. And just took those with me. And, so, I think her son called me like the next day, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on? Some fun stuff going on there." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what to say, man." So yeah, I don't know. We just didn't really have much to say. I just said that I guess it wasn't working out, and I felt that tension coming up. When I got back the following day to pick up the remainder of my stuff, I was just livid and angry and running on fumes and so tired. And I imagine just taking, I think she had a BMW or some nice car. I was fantasizing about just pushing that car into a nearby man-made lake that was next to the townhouse. I was just fuming. But when I got there, I think it was either a day or the next day after that, she had just thrown a lot of my stuff away, including these amazing, beautiful wall scrolls I had in mint condition. And so I gathered what little stuff there was left, and I took off. I remember I went up and got that gourmet chocolate mix out and stuffed it into my pocket, and then I just left. That was the beginning of the month. I had just given my check. To this day, I still have never gotten the $400 some odd. I should have been refunded or prorated the majority of that back to me. But when I got back home to my parents, I got madly sick. I took some antibiotics because I had an infection on some kind of bacterial infection on top. I remember I collapsed from the antibiotics, but I think I lasted at my parents' house for maybe a week or maybe a little over a week, and that was it. I found a place up in Baltimore in Linthicum, which I think was like, the demographic there was women over 50 and flight stewardesses. That was it. But I just found a place that was just like affordable, and I moved on with my life. But yeah, that was a story of long-winded story about how I lost all these really cool, amazing wall scrolls back in the day. When I went back into Japan in 2019, I thought maybe I could replenish that and find some cool wall scrolls, but I could never find any good shops with wall scrolls while I was there. I don't know, probably just went to the wrong places. Should have probably visited Shinjuku or some of the other shops in some of the other cities outside of Akihabara. I have those 3 black and white lenticulars on the bottom with Bela Lugosi and Karloff, and they kind of cycle between the creature from Lagoon and the Wolfman and the Invisible Man. Yeah, I have those hanging outside my office. Love those. I wish they would remake some of those. I think like Universal was trying to revive sort of monster universe with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but they completely screwed it up. But I would love to sort of see a revisiting. I really definitely enjoyed, like I said before, Disney's Werewolf by Night, and I would love to see more stuff like that, but it would be great to see some real money thrown at a retelling of those original horror stories. I did like the Anthony Hopkins, Benicio del Toro one, and the one with Jack Nicholson that were done like in, I think, either the late 90s or the early 2000s. Those are pretty cool. Probably my favorite horror movie for my generation, obviously, being a Gen Xer, would be Gary Oldman and good old Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder in Dracula. That was Frank Coppola's Dracula was amazing. Just that's another movie that right cocktail, right mix of people and editing and directing and acting. Even Keanu Reeves couldn't. Hey man, look, I love John Wick. I love Point Break. I love what Keanu Reeves has done for the movie industry, and especially the action industry, especially that amazing director. His stuntman from Point Break turned director did a ridiculous job with that, and I thought he did a wonderful job with Mr. Nobody, and I'm looking forward to what he does next. But Keanu Reeves also, hey, look, The Matrix, but he was a horrendous actor back then in Dracula, but even he couldn't bring how awesome of a movie that is. That movie is the closest that's the outside of the game Castlevania, I think that is, and the original Bram Stoker book, and I guess maybe Interview with a Vampire, Anne Rice's take on it. Those are like my ultimate vampire pop culture things I love. Actually, you know what? I'll have to throw in the first Blade and the Darkstalker series of video games. Kind of curious to see what happens with the Blade reboot. I'm a little, I think like there's been a lot of problems with the director and the production. So hopefully it'll like navigate all of its problems the way Rogue One did and come out fine. But it's starting to look like it's not going to be good. This whole phase of this MCU has just been such a letdown. People keep waiting and waiting to see if there's any payoff for this phase, but it just seems like they're just throwing shit at the wall, and a lot of it is just shit and just seeing what sticks. But I don't know. The new Quantumania movie maybe looks promising, but a lot of these trailers are really misleading. I have a feeling the second Black Panther movie is not going to be good either. So, oh man, I don't know. Maybe the first era of the MCU ending in Endgame was a once in a lifetime thing. It can't be recreated. Yeah, I don't know. I saw Black Adam came out. I don't know. I have no interest in seeing that either. I don't mean to keep jumping on the hater train, but I just I don't really care for The Rock. I don't know. I'll give it a shot, I guess, at some point. I still haven't seen the finale of House of the Dragon. There's just a lot of stuff that's just been very disappointing. I used to be able to nurture really, really mediocre or bad stuff and wait for things to pay off. I think there was a Reddit thread where somebody asked, hey, what's like a great show or series that you watched that eventually got amazing when you stuck it through but was really not good in the beginning? And there were like some interesting answers there, and I used to be that kind of person. I used to just stick it out through a lot of mediocrity or just be on autopilot while powering through stuff. And this was in the era before you had like cell phones and you could distract yourself as easily. You had to be like somewhat invested. But I remember there was some stuff back then, like Farscape or whatever, where it was just like you had to sort of just nurture and stick it through until something amazing came along, and then the series or whatever kind of ramped up or gave you a reward that was worth sort of slogging through a lot of it. But I don't know, as I get older, I think my biology has changed. I feel like I'm just more picky. I don't know if I think my time is more precious. I mean, I spend an inordinate amount of time on pop culture and pop art, but I just don't want to just sit there nurturing mediocrity. I mean, I do that enough in other aspects of my life. I just don't want to do it with stuff that's that's I find life affirming, like really cool art and stuff like that. So yeah. There's some cool wall scrolls, but nothing sort of my taste. I like that Gudetama stuff. I think I consider getting designer toys of those little egg Gudetama things. I find them adorable. I'm going to come back around, we'll see a lot more of those wall scrolls. But nowadays you don't really see too many wall scrolls for movies or video games. You just see mostly wall scrolls for different anime series, I think. Some of that food looked pretty good, like those little bao buns. On the very last aisle, there's a whole bunch of food options. That's where I got some okoyamaki, some really good Japanese food. I really like that angel, or that kind of, I don't know if it's, it looks like an avenging angel that Huddleston did up there in the corner. That I thought was really well done. This is kind of cool. I have some of Kehasuk's prints. This is like a second section he did called Musings. I did like some of this stuff. It's not as intricate as some of his other works here on the coming up on the left, but these are pretty nice. I'm not sure if this is done in collaboration with somebody else, but yeah, I dug some of this artwork. This is more in line with what I know his work to be. This stuff is really, really cool. I like his silhouettes with his just like a conglomeration of all the pieces and characters of his art. His prints are really cool. I like the way he does this stuff. These are really fun to look at. Try to zoom in a bit here, give you an idea of the detail on his work. There's a nice Ronin comic. I think this was a contest to win it. That cover was awesome. That was really, really well done. A nice remark by Easton on up there. Yeah, thinking about cartoons, or just, old school stuff I was into as a kid. One other cartoon I forgot to mention was G.I. Joe. I used to love watching that show. Oh man, that show was really, really good. It was cool watching, watching a military show with modern day military sentiments, or modern day military aesthetics and stuff was just cool. Just seeing special ops fight terrorists. I mean, I think the fact that no one ever died, people were always somersaulting over bullets, just never crossed my mind as a kid. I never saw the G.I. Joe movie in theaters. I think maybe it was on my radar a little bit later as a teen, and realizing after the fact that kids were coming out of the movie crying. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was when Transformers, the movie came out. Kids were crying leaving that movie because Optimus Prime had died. And for the G.I. Joe movie, they had changed the ending. They had overdubbed the words that were being said that showed, there was a scene where Duke dies, where Serpentor throws his this sort of spear / snake, and Duke takes it, I think, in the chest. And there was a scene showing him sort of dying and sort of fading away, while his comrades and fellow soldiers are I think it was Scarlet or somebody was just crying. And there's a scene where when you see the lips moving, they're speaking as if Duke is dead. But I think they overdubbed that scene and then inserted another scene to make it seem like he didn't die. And that, I think that was in reaction, a last minute edit, because of such a reaction that the Optimus Prime movie, the Transformers movie got with Optimus Prime's death. But anyway, I wasn't really much of a G.I. Joe fan after being a little kid, but I think there was a movie that came out, it was an animation that came out maybe around the 2010 or so. It was called G.I. Joe Resolute, and it was just I thought a really clever animation. It kind of grew up with the audience, so they didn't sort of portray G.I. Joe as a cheesy thing with people dodging bullets. I mean, I think the movie opens with Cobra Commander tongue-in-cheek sort of talking about how he was just playing the part of a buffoon, or this sort of simpleton on his as an exterior facade to see who he could really trust. And he was really pulling strings behind the scenes. And it opens with him orchestrating a nuclear strike on a city, I think Moscow, and killing millions of people, and then blackmailing the UN into giving the Cobra organization money, unless and if they don't, he's going to continue, mass murdering people. But the way they did that animation in this reboot or the sequel was really cool. Even with the military tactics, it was a little more modernized. People used gain ground tactics. It was a really, really cool origin story told between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. And the movie was really brutal, and there was consequences, and characters could die. I think maybe around the time I saw that animation, I started reading a lot of the G.I. Joe comics. And one of the things, I think I have 6 statues from Prime 1 Studios, or I don't know if it's 5 or 6, but it's Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Serpentor, Destro, and Scarlet. So yeah, 5. Really cool statues, their entire line. It's too bad Prime 1 Studios discontinued that line. I was really hoping for a Baroness or a Cobra Commander, or especially, I know that they probably never would have made it, but if they ever made like a Zartan statue, I loved Zartan, man. I had that action figure that his skin changed color when it got heat or when it was in the sun. Oh man, it was really, really awesome. Oh wow, check out this. Yeah, I remember this Catwoman from Tweeterhead from the 1989 film. That statue's awesome. There's a couple of the Iron Studio standalone statues that kind of fit well with their 1/6 line. I'm lucky enough to have gotten all 3 of the X-Men deluxe Sentinel dios, but a lot of these figures like that Wanda and there's a Blob, and there's a lot of cool figures that would go to it. At one point I threw all of them in my cart. Oh god, I love that Blob back there. But at one time I threw all of the ones available on Big Bad Toy Store into my cart, and just the individual 1/6 figures, not any of the 3 big Sentinel dios, and it was like $4,800. It was sobering. I came to my senses and deleted the cart. But yeah, those are really, really well done. Some really cool 1/6 Disney figures here. Pretty nice. Oh, and there's some Court of the Dead and some cool takes on Alice in Wonderland and Tinkerbell from Peter Pan by Scott Campbell. Yep. And these are like by Sideshow. That's really cool. Yeah, it's too bad Sideshow wasn't here. It would have been nice to have seen them here. There's that Asajj Ventress statue. That was one of the few Star Wars statues I considered getting. That one was really, really nice and really well done. Yeah, there's that Sentinel. That's the 3rd Sentinel die up above. That was really cool. But yeah, they had a really cool line for Thundercats. That Mumra is pretty awesome right there. But yeah, those Sentinels are awesome. I love this Dark Knight with the Joker up there. That's really cool. I think they have one of him destroying that Cyclops, where he uses MMA to break every bone in his body in the mud. That one was really well done too. There was a contest to win it. Yeah, these prints were really nice. Some nice Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Thundercats and He-Man prints here. Little Chainsaw Man. Yeah, Alex Kotkin. Pretty good artist. I really like his TMNT prints on the very end of the aisle. You'll see coming up. There's a really, really cool one with Shredder, and in the reflection of his helmet, you can see the turtles. Yeah, here's some of their Turtles prints. Death Note, Yojimbo. Yeah, there's that shredder print up above. God, I love that print. I might pick that up eventually. That's really well done. I don't have any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles statues or figures or anything like that. I considered getting the PCS Ronin one with the 3 or 4 ghosts behind him, but yeah, I don't know. I changed my mind on that one. It's good, but I'm just not. I still haven't read the Ronin comic, and I haven't read the last Ronin comic, and I haven't read Shredder in Hell either. They're on my queue list. I'm so far behind, but I'll try to get to them before the end of the year. I think this is Mike Matsumoto's booth. He has a really cool, MK Matsumoto's booth. He has a really cool Princess Mononoke wide print that I have. I think it's done in sort of a metallic print. Yeah, in the back you see over there. That one's really, really nice. I need to get that framed. I like that Bueller print too. That's his wife there on the left. I remember I saw him at AwesomeCon and I talked to him for like 10 minutes about never having kids. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. Probably shouldn't have said that. Luckily, I've never uploaded that video. Maybe I should, and then just laugh at myself. But I remember I was talking with him about art and, just some of my friends who have had kids and how it's like sort of changed their lives and in a weird way ended our friendships just because of like the time and the change, and it's a trauma having kids. Sometimes I wish I could go back and have a proper funeral or wake for our friendship when I knew somebody was about to become a father or mother, and can have a proper goodbye and closure for our friendship. There's some of the wall scrolls from, I think it's still Right Stuff Anime, Purple Plum, but yeah. As you can see, most of the wall scrolls are just oriented around anime TV shows. You don't really see too many based on iconic or classic anime movies or video games. That just seems to be gone now. It's hard to find wall scrolls for video game stuff anymore. I have a really cool Vampirella statue where she's sort of on a couch or a throne coming from Prime 1. That one looks really, really cool. Sideshow had a proto of it at their booth in San Diego Comic-Con. And Red Sonja, man, I wish I had ordered that Prime 1 statue of her battling that serpent. For a while I considered getting that one and the Wonder Woman fighting the Hydra, and Batman fighting the sort of the serpent version of Joker in that Dark Knight's Metal statue by Prime 1. I thought it would be kind of cool to have like 3 sort of statues in that style where the main protagonist is sort of coiled around by a serpentine type